Alrighty, we're going to talk about the light spectrum, and I'm going to explain how it is male and female. And again, all that I'm explaining and all that I'm going to be going over is simply material that is in the Bible from start to finish that has been perverted and corrupted by the mystery religions over thousands of years. It's all just twisting and perverting of how they want to take and misconstrue what God has put forth and what the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ has put forth. You got to remember the Bible from start to finish is all about the man, Jesus Christ. It's that simple. If you have any questions about that, by all means, continue to fire off emails to me. I'll continue to do my best to answer. I know it takes me a couple of days on some of them. Some of them I get to within a day or two, but some of them I do apologize. It's taking me over a week. But continue. Okay, let's look at this. You have the male aspect. Again, we're looking as if we're looking straight forward. This would be your left-hand side. This is your right-hand side. We're looking at the light spectrum as far as what the human eye can detect from our the visible light spectrum. It's right here in the middle, and it's a very, very small, minute. I've blown it up right here area. And what I need to explain this a little bit to you so you can understand. Look at capacitance over here as being female, and it's in where gamma rays and so forth are, like if you had uranium. Uranium has a very, very low frequency wave. It has a massive, massive amount of power and potential that is concealed at rest, and it oscillates or vibrates very, very slowly. However, over here on the radio wave spectrum, when you're getting up to the infrared spectrum and beyond, it resonates. In other words, it vibrates at such a high frequency, and the wave is so long on its amplitude and longitude that it's just almost a straight line at times. There are certain frequencies that we use in the military, or I should say when I was in the military, and that state police agencies use. I know that there are several states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio. I know that the state of Ohio about 15 years ago filed a lawsuit against AT&T whenever AT&T had purchased, I believe the company was called Singular, because they were going to operate on a specific frequency that was, I mean, way, way out there high. You say, well, what's the big deal? Why in the world did they file a lawsuit? Well, you have to understand, in the state police or the state troopers, in the case of Ohio, they use radio similar to what truck drivers use as far as a CB, but they're using a they're not operating in megahertz. They're way, way, way above and beyond. They're ultra way higher than megahertz. And you say, well, I don't understand. What's the point? Well, your average trucker going down the road, if he's got a good antenna and a good radio, he can talk anywhere from 5 to 10 miles, as long as there's no obstructions as far as hills, buildings, and so forth. If he's on a open, relatively flat plain, he can talk a good 5 to 10 miles with a good radio and a good antenna. However, the state police, using the frequencies that they sued AT&T to stop and block, they can reach distances and talk almost 200 miles away. That's the difference. That doesn't mean anything to you or me. I'm just saying that's the potential when I'm talking about resonance and how these radio waves, quote unquote, how they're almost a linear wave. In other words, instead of communicating and oscillating up and down, it's almost like taking a large piece of rebar or steel bar and holding it level and tapping one end with a hammer. You're going to immediately get that frequency of sound right out the other end. That may be an oddball comparison or oddball, analysis, but it's tantamount to the same. So let's move forward here. So I don't want to chase a lot of rabbits in the weeds as far as the electrical engineering and the physics behind this. I got to break it down so it's in the simple man's terms. So let's look at this. Red eyes. Back when I was growing up in the 70s, you had a big, big, big problem with red eyes. Why is that? What's the point? Well, if you'll understand and go back to what I just said, whereas blue end of the spectrum is very, very, very slow moving relative to the red. These all are moving so extremely fast, but I'm having to break it down and use terms that show you how it's moving slow and it's compact, as far as over here it's moving much more freely and much more linear. Okay, why the red eyes? Well, in our visible light spectrum, even though it is very, very tiny, you have to understand the red light moves much faster than the blue light. So when people would take a camera and snap a shot with a Polaroid, or just a old 8mm or whatever type of photography they were using, the red light was traveling so much faster that boom, it would bounce off the interior of the eye and reflect as red. And the blue light wave hadn't even processed through yet because it was moving so much slower. But the shutter had opened and closed and the flash had gone off. Okay, I don't know if that's making any sense. I'm trying to help you understand why the red happens that way. If you take a modern camera, whether it be a cell phone, digital camera, and you take it apart, you'll notice there's a very, very thin lens that goes over your actual camera lens, and it's kind of a pink to a red color. It helps to dampen the speed of the red light and absorb it so you don't get the red eyes anymore. Okay? And you may be saying, well, what does this have to do with male and female, the red and the blue? You've got to look at the concept of what's going on. Blue would be capacitance, absolute massive amount of energy that is potential, say in uranium, whereas red over here on the other end would be absolute resonance of free flowing that's already permeated, say helium or hydrogen gas. And you say, well, they're not the same. Yes, they are. They are an element that can transfer and be consumed. Any way you look at it. Hydrogen is the most readily available and most abundant element that can be oxidized. You say, well, you're oxidizing it and you just, boom, it goes up in a flame. How do you oxidize uranium? Uranium is so slow in its decay. To oxidize, it would take quite a bit longer. We're talking, whereas over here, hydrogen would take seconds. This would take days, weeks, months, potentially years, depending on the amount that you have and the yield purity. So let's continue on. My point, what I'm trying to make here is I'm trying to show how light in and of itself in the Bible and light in and of itself in nature, physics, how we're lied to. And we're going to go through the spectrum of the rainbow, and I'm going to show you how we're lied to about the colors of the rainbow. And I'm going to tie this all in and show you how everything comes back to the cube. It's male and female. It's all about you. So let's move forward here. Let's look at a rainbow, okay? You got your sunshine, you got some clouds, you got water droplets in the clouds, and man is standing, taking a gander, looking at, oh, I can see a rainbow in the clouds, okay? It boils down to this. When light from the sun strikes water droplets, an observer is able to view a rainbow. However, the rainbow is only brilliant with color and clarity seen at a precise 42-degree angle. Any angle smaller or greater than 42 degrees will cause the color of the rainbow to appear dull or less noticeable, okay? The optimal viewing is 42 degrees, and this is so absolutely key, this number. Throughout Kabbalah, Mystery Babylon, Jewish mysticism, outside of Kabbalah, they all trace back to the same animal. Even in the Talmud, even the practices and the perversions that are there. This number is so very, very sacred. And they won't tell you it ties into the rainbow, but it's exactly what it is, and they're just perverting it. But let's see what this 42, what's the point behind it? Why is it so revered and why is it so precious? Well, the 42 in the Bible talks of a new beginning, okay? A time of starting afresh, starting anew. Okay, you say, wait a minute, I remember the children of Israel, they wandered around in the desert for 40 years. And there were a lot of 40s that went on throughout the Bible. You're absolutely right. There are far less numbers of 42, but nonetheless, they are much, much, much broader in aspect. 42, we're going to look at this here in a minute. With Noah, it engulfed the whole earth starting afresh. Whereas the children of Israel, and 40, which we'll get into in the next video, the chakras, deals with their life and their general life expanse, okay, through the archons of their aeon of life. So work with me here. The next video, when we do the chakras, it'll make more sense. Let's continue on. All right, in the number 42 in Hebrew is expressed as membet. When it is written, it is, again, Hebrew is right to left, so it's mem right here, and then bet over here, membet. Okay, mem symbolizes water or God as the source of divine life, i.e. his spirit. Okay, so it's water, it's spirit, that's which is absolute abundance. Okay, now you're thinking, wait a minute, you're talking water and spirit. You've always told us throughout your videos that the female is blue as water. So you're saying God is spirit, is water, is female? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the aspect of the potential and what God uses to reveal his sovereignty to us through his spirit is mem. And mem represents, yes, water and spirit. Just work with me. Bet. Bet symbolizes a house or God's omnipotence. Omnipresence. You say, well, what's that got to do with it? Well, God is spirit. God doesn't live in a house, okay? It's talking about the dwelling place of God, the abode of God, okay? The bet symbolizes an abode, a dwelling place, a house. Now let's look at them together. 42 is therefore understood to be the house of the Spirit or the dwelling place of the Spirit. So, 42, the optimal degree of the rainbow, how science and nature ties in and what God was trying to tell us through Noah. Let's look at this a little deeper, okay? This shines a whole, quote, new light, unquote, on the book of John, chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 14. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then in verse 14, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we behold his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. You say, okay, you're talking about the number 42, this red light, this blue light. What in the world does that have to do with me? You're talking about Jesus, and he's someone that I don't really get into. Let's look at this a little bit more. I said the Bible is the absolute apex of truth, and that the mystery religions, Luciferian Gnosticism, Kabbalah, Mystery Babylon, have all perverted the Bible. And the Bible is about Jesus from start to finish. Let's look at Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 through 4. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. The light, the aspect, the essence, Jesus. In Genesis chapter 9, verses 8 through 17, we have the rainbow established as a token sign of the covenant God has established, stating that he will never again destroy the earth by floodwaters. Thus, the rainbow signifies a new beginning to Noah and his sons. Now you see where it's starting to tie in? The rainbow was established for Noah, but the optimal viewing of absolute pure clarity is 42 degrees. And it's going to tie in very, very beautifully. Okay? Now, if we go into the New Testament, the book of Matthew, there are 42 generations from Abraham where the promise was made that he would be the father of a multitude. In other words, there are 42 generations from Abraham to Jesus in the genealogy here in Matthew chapter 1, verses 1 through 18. And most scholars lean towards this genealogy as being that on the Joseph side of his family. Okay? There is still speculation as well. Is it Mary through her mother's side, and is this Mary and Luke through her father's side? It's irrelevant which side it came through. It's just a genealogy, simply put, that states 42 generations from Abraham when he was promised. And if you read and understand in the Bible, Father Abraham was old. I mean, he was old, and he did not have any children. His wife was way past childbearing years. And basically, she had gone through menopause and everything. She was barren. She didn't have no kids. He didn't have any legitimate children through his wife. But God told him, said, Abraham, check it out. You see the stars of heaven? Your descendants will be as abundant as the stars of heaven, more numerous than the sands of the seashore. And that was what he was trying to understand. Wait a minute, God, how can this be? My wife is barren, and I'm old in my age as well. All right, so carry on here. Again, in the book of Luke, there are 42 generations mentioned, and they're not the same people. Their generations, or the genealogy is a little bit different from Abraham to Jesus. And there were 77 generations from Adam to Jesus in Luke chapter 3, verses 23 through 38 in the genealogy. All right, let's continue on. Jesus said in John chapter 8, verse 12, I am the light of the world. Makes you wonder, if the Bible's about him from start to finish, and he's mentioned here in Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, God speaking forth the light and it coming forward. And then in chapter 9, the rainbow comes about. It's telling you, it's all about him. This should prove insightful and give a clearer understanding of Jesus' transfiguration in Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 through 13, Mark chapter 9, verses 2 through 8, and Luke chapter 9, verses 28 through 36. What the heck is this transfiguration all about? Jesus took three of his disciples, later known as apostles, with him, and he went to the Mount of Transfiguration. He basically was transformed into his pure essence of light, blinding, pure, white, beautiful light. And when the disciples beheld it, they saw also Moses and Elijah there with him. And the voice from heaven said, this is my son, whom I'm well pleased, blah, blah, blah. My point is, number one, they didn't have Polaroids back then. They didn't have video recorders. So how in the world do these apostles know that Moses, who has been dead for hundreds of years, and Elijah, who had been dead for hundreds of years, how did they recognize them? Think about it. How did they recognize who they were and call them by name? All right, let's move on. Okay, now to break this down so we can understand how the rainbow and the light spectrum is male and female, I'm showing you this aspect. We're going to break it down. We're going to go through the colors of the rainbow, and we're going to go right thick into the middle of the Merkaba and how it all ties together to link you as a person, whether you are a human man or you are a human woman. The man is still a masculine and a feminine, and the woman is still a masculine and a feminine. The mind is feminine, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. The body is carnal, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. And hopefully this will help you understand and see how this is brought about and how this is in the Bible and how the mystery religion is perverted. All right, we're looking at colors here, basically the aspects of a color wheel. You have red, yellow, and blue as your three primary colors. Okay, if you take red and yellow, you get orange. If you combine blue and yellow, you get green. If you combine blue and red, you get purple. But if you take the three primaries, or you take the three primaries and the secondaries and combine them together, what do you get? Brown. Okay, you say, what's the big deal about that? Just watch. Again, in case you're wanting to see it a little bit more smooth, streamlined, you have yellow and you have red. Yellow and red combine to make orange. You have a little bit more red, you have red orange. You have a little bit more yellow, you have yellow orange. So forth and so on around with the green hues and the purple hues. Okay? But if you combine these three together, you get brown. Now let's look at the rainbow and what science tells us, what we're told in school. We all probably remember Roy G. Biv. Get it? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Well, it's right there in your face, but 99.9% of the people that have learned this in school, that have learned it in college, that have went through electrical engineering into physics, have never questioned this aspect. And it's an absolute perverted lie that's right in your face. You say, no, it's not. I can see those colors. Those are the rainbow colors. Okay, but you're lied to. Look at it this way. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. You see how I've switched the two hues here? It doesn't matter which chart you're looking at. You can go on Google all day long. You're going to find colors of the rainbow under Roy G. Biv, and the hues and which ones are which, but many of them you'll find where the blue and the indigo are flipped. Why is that? Let's look at this a little closer. Bingo. Blue and indigo are the same color. Blue, this is just a 40% hue of this color. I filled it in. Indigo is blue. Do your homework. Look at the etymology of the word. You're lied to. They put the double blue in there, blue and blue, blue and indigo, and they eliminate the brown. Why? Well, when you look at a rainbow, the rainbow does not combine light in and of itself. There are no 7 colors. There are 6 colors. But the amalgamation of when you combine them all together, you get brown. Again, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, indigo, blue, and violet. Well, where's the brown? It's right in your face, and they won't tell you the truth. Red, orange, yellow, green, brown, indigo, and violet. Do you get it? You have 1, 2, 3 primary colors. You have 1, 2, 3 secondary colors. But if you combine all 3 of the primaries or all 3 of the secondaries, what do you get? Brown. There are 6 colors of the rainbow, but the essence of all of them combined is brown. Do some homework on this. We're lied to. All right. This I'm going to go through quick. I'm recording this in very high quality, so you can do a screenshot. If you don't know how to do a screenshot, you just hold the keys down, Control, and then print screen, and open Paint, paste it, boom, you got you a copy of it. So if you don't understand that, do a Google on it, and you'll figure out how to make a copy of it for yourself. The mystery religions teach you that the upward-facing triangle is the masculine aspect of God, and that's why it's outlined in red and white. Okay, the priest, the king, and God, Father, and the warrior. I'm not going to go into this nonsense. It's mystery religion, but it's real. I'm showing you and putting this on the screen not to be psychosomatically of planting a seed. Oh, I've got to go check this stuff out. That's not my point. I'm doing it to show you that I've done my homework. I've been doing this for over 30 years. And the perversions that are there are there. Okay? Now, on the bottom, you would have the queen, priestess, and goddess, warrioress, and mother. Okay, but it's a black triangle pointing down because of that which you can't see. You can't see inside the womb. It's in utter darkness. But it's there. It has incepted the child. It grows in the womb. And it's flanked, outlined in blue because it's water, it's moist, it's fertile. That's where the spirit in the darkness does its thing to bring forth a new life. And if you look at the arches around the cosmic egg, so to speak, you have a white arch on the bottom and a black arch on the top. But they're combined. You can't have the arch on the top or the bottom. You can't have life at all without the male and the female presence. The physical and the spiritual. The carnal, which is easily perverted, and the spiritual or the mental, which is easily corrupted. So I just show you that so you can understand that. These are a lot of the essences and aspects that go with it. You have masculine, a scepter, and a sword. For the phallus, it goes up. But for the feminine, it goes down. You have a feminine, a chalice, and a grail. You say, wait a minute, I know the holy chalice or the holy grail. It's a cup. It's a vessel. It's something that can contain what? Fluid, liquid, water, wine, the sacred feminine. Do your homework. And you can look at these as well, but I'm not going to cover those. All right, let's jump right in and see where the light spectrum brings forth masculine and feminine, the male and the female aspect, into the Merkaba. And how the Merkaba is so revered and sacred, but they won't tell you why it's revered and why it's sacred. All right, you have the Star of David and a two-dimensional rendition. Now, I've put the 3 diamonds over, or a quote-unquote 3D rendition of a box, so you can see it a little better, and I'm going to continue to unfold it here. Now, do you see this? I've tried to do a 2-dimensional aspect of the Star of David here, but I've put it in a closer to 3-dimensional aspect. This triangle right here, you have one exactly on the opposite side over here as well. And again, I've put it in a box. You say, well, what the heck does this have to do with the male and the female? Triangle pointing down is female. Triangle pointing up is male. Just remember that. They're perfectly interlaced. This is the Merkaba. You've seen pictures of it, renditions in sacred geometry with all the circles and the lines, and they mystify you because you're like, wow, that's so perfectly drawn, and how do they know to do that, and all blah blah. It's irrelevant. It's a sideshow. It sidetracks you and gets your mind off the aspect of what is it? What's the root? What's the etymology? Where does it go back to the hermeneutics of absolute essence of God in Jesus Christ? Let's look at it this way. This is a photo that I found of a metal one. I have some from earlier years in my life growing up, but I never had one that was 3D. I've had the two-dimensional ones. But I hope you can picture this. This one's going perfectly down and this one's going perfectly up. Okay? Again, here is a crude rendition of me trying to get a third-dimensional or three-dimensional aspect in here as well. Try to get you to picture it in your mind. So let's look at this a little closer. If you look at it, I've put numbers on this. Put numbers on this one as well. The numbers in the order that they are on this are absolutely critical and crucial. So you'll see 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. Same thing over here. 1, 8, 2, 7, 4, 5, 3, and then the 6s are around to the rear. You say, okay, what's your point? Why do you have them colored red and then blue? Well, there's a reason for it. One is masculine, pointing up. One is feminine, which points down. So, well, you've done them backwards here on purpose to mess with our heads. No. Work with me. You'll see what I'm talking about. Sacred geometry is not what people think it is. It's a play on numbers and how it all works. All is based on 0 through 9, or base 10. You say, well, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Work with me here. All right. I'm going to use these numbers and these numbers over here so you can see the concept of what I'm showing you. All right. 2 plus 3 plus 5. 2 plus 3 plus 5 on this triangle, they all add up to 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. 2, 3, 5, 10. 1. Do you see how the 3 flank the other? I'll do this one here next, so you'll see it. 1, 4, 7 equals 12. 1 plus 4 plus 7 equals 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 1 plus 4 plus 7 equals 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Do you get it? Do you see it? You got the 6 on the rear back here. Okay? So let's do 1, 6, and 7. 1 plus 6 plus 7 equals 14. 1 plus 6, which is the back, and 7 equals 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. Do you see it? Every one, when you take, like for example, if you take 2 plus 3 plus 8, what do you get? 13. 1 plus 3 equals 4. It all reduces back down in decimal parity. They all reduce back to the 3 sides reduced to the opposite tip of the opposite tetrahedron that it's flanking. Always, always. They always equal back. You can go through and look at these. 1 plus 4 is 6. 1 plus 1 is 2. And so forth. Every single one of these will do it. You say, well, okay, that's a neat trick, but what's the point? The point is it's sacred geometry in its absolute three-dimensional aspect. You can't have the numbers 0 through 9 in absolute perfect harmony without this shape. You say, I don't know about that. Well, let me just work with me a little bit longer here. You'll see the absolute conclusion, how it all comes back to you, and you are a cube. So where's the 0 and where's the 9? Well, they're nowhere and they are everywhere. Each of the tetrahedron conceals 9. Okay? Let's do all the blues here first. 1, 4, 6, and 7. 1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 7. They equal 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. You say, well, there's no 0 in those 9. There's no 9. Duh. They're revealed and concealed. There is no 0 at all. Well, there's no 9 at all until you reveal it by adding them together. Let's take the red. 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 8 equals 18. 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 8. That equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Do you get it? 9 and 9. You don't have the 9 straightforward. 9 is always concealed. You say, well, yeah, but you're having to add the tetrahedrons together and blah, blah, blah. It's just, well, let's make it a little easier for you. The corner of one tetrahedron, when combined with the opposite corner of the opposite tetrahedron, conceals 9. Do you get it? So 1 plus 8 equals 9. 1 plus 8 equals 9. The 9 is nested, resting perfectly in the middle. But it's 0. It's not there. 2 plus 7, 2 plus 7, or 2 plus 7, right in the middle here, right in the center, there would be a 9. 3 plus 6, 9. 4 plus 5, 9. The 0 is nowhere and everywhere. The 9 is nowhere and everywhere. There's a beautiful video that a fellow has done on YouTube. I saw it, gosh, 7, 8, maybe 9 years ago. I wish I had done a little homework and put a link in the description. But he uses shapes similar to ping pong balls, and he has an animation where he shows this. Very, very similar to this, and he does a pretty good job of it. But he doesn't go as far as to correlate it with the Merkaba and so forth with the tetrahedron. So, last thing here. When all of the numbers 1 through 8 are combined, they reveal 9. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 equals 36. 3 plus 6 equals 9. Do you get it? Here's where the beauty of it comes in. I told you this is all about the rainbow and how light spectrum conceals the male and the female, the masculine essence, and how the number 42 is beautifully crafted within. Okay? Each tip of the tetrahedron has a number, 1 through 8. When you combine them all together, add them up, the 1 through 8, you get 36. Okay? But if you take the 8 tips, and then you do the 6 sides of the cube and add them together, you get 42. Exactly where we started. Again, I've told you, I've done homework on this. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, let's throw some information out there. It all boils down to the purple, the absolute perfect combination of the red and the blue, the masculine and the feminine. That's what creates you, your body and your mind, your material and your mental. It's beautiful. It all goes back to the Bible, all of it. And how it all, you perfectly fit into the cube because you are the cube. And it all comes down to how the powers that be and the mystery religions, how they dominate and control you, me, and society, everybody. Think about it. Remember always, think Jesus.